The evening was calm and peaceful in a small town where life moved slowly. Bella's Bistro, a modest restaurant tucked away on the edge of the main street, buzzed softly with activity. It wasn't fancy or expensive, but it had charm. People liked coming here because it felt like home. The walls were painted a warm yellow, and there were framed pictures of old recipes hanging up. Soft jazz played quietly in the background, just loud enough to fill the silence between conversations. Laura. Bennett sat by herself at a corner table near the window. She wasn't dressed extravagantly, just jeans and a simple blouse, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. Her long brown hair fell over her shoulders, and her green eyes scanned the menu thoughtfully. This wasn't her first time visiting Bella's Bistro. In fact, she came here often when she wanted to relax after work. It was one of those places that made you feel comfortable without trying too hard. As Laura sipped her water, she glanced around the room. Families laughed together, couples whispered sweet nothings, and friends shared stories over plates of food. Everything seemed normal, but something about tonight felt different. Maybe it was the way the waiter kept rushing past her table without stopping, or maybe it was the growing knot of frustration building inside her chest. She had been waiting for what felt like ages. At first, she didn't mind. Restaurants got busy sometimes, and she understood that. But now, 20 minutes had passed since she ordered her meal, and her glass was almost empty. She needed more water. Simple enough, right? So why hadn't anyone come to help her? Finally, Laura raised her hand slightly, trying to catch the attention of a passing waiter. He was carrying 2 plates stacked high with pasta, his face scrunched in concentration. "Excuse me," she said politely, her voice clear but not too loud. The waiter barely glanced in her direction before hurrying off to another table. Laura sighed and leaned back in her chair. She tried again a few minutes later when a different waiter walked by. "Could I get some more water, please?" she asked, this time a little louder. Again, nothing. The waiter nodded absent-mindedly and disappeared into the kitchen. Her patience was wearing thin. Normally, Laura wasn't the type to make a fuss. She believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. But tonight, things were different. It wasn't just about the water anymore, it was about being ignored. It was about feeling invisible. And that stung. When yet another waiter breezed past her table without so much as a glance, Laura decided she'd had enough. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Heads turned in her direction, curious about the sudden noise. Ignoring the stares, she stepped into the aisle and flagged down the nearest server. "I've been asking for more water for the last half hour," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the hum of conversation. "Is someone going to help me?" The waiter looked startled. "Oh, sorry," he mumbled, clearly flustered. "I'll get that for you right away." But Laura shook her head. "No, thank you. I think I've waited long enough." Her tone was icy now, sharp enough to make the waiter take a step back. Without another word, she grabbed her purse from the table and headed toward the exit. The manager noticed the commotion and quickly approached her. He was a middle-aged man with thinning hair and a nervous smile. "Miss, is everything okay?" he asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "No, it's not okay," Laura replied, her voice steady, despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. "Your staff has completely ignored me all night. I've asked multiple times for something as simple as a glass of water, and no one cared enough to listen." "I'm very sorry to hear that," the manager said, attempting to sound sincere. "If you'd like, we can comp your meal." "That won't be necessary," Laura interrupted. "I don't want free food. I just wanted basic respect. Clearly, I won't find that here." The manager frowned, his patience visibly fraying. "Look, miss, I understand you're upset, but causing a scene isn't going to solve anything." "A scene," Laura repeated, raising an eyebrow. "All I did was ask for service. If that's considered a scene, then maybe you should rethink how you run this place." By now, several diners had stopped eating to watch the exchange. Some looked sympathetic, while others appeared annoyed by the disruption. Laura could feel their eyes on her, but she didn't care. She had reached her limit. "Fine. the manager said curtly, crossing his arms. If you're not happy here, perhaps it's best if you leave. Laura stared at him for a moment, her jaw tightening. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out of the restaurant. The door swung shut behind her with a soft click. Outside, the cool night air hit her face, offering a small measure of relief. She paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. Through the large glass windows, she could see the manager watching her, his expression unreadable. Their eyes met briefly, and though she said nothing, the intensity of her gaze sent a shiver down his spine. Then, turning away, Laura walked off into the darkness. To anyone watching, it might have seemed like just another disgruntled customer, leaving a bad experience behind. But deep down, the manager couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Something about Laura, and the way she carried herself, left him uneasy. Little did he know. His instincts were right. What happened next would change everything for better or worse. A modest restaurant exterior in the morning light, with luxury cars parked along the street. A shiny red Ferrari, a sleek black Lamborghini, and a pristine white Rolls-Royce are prominently visible. Well-dressed men and women in suits and elegant dresses step out of the vehicles, some chatting animatedly while others glance curiously at the restaurant sign that reads, Bella's Bistro. The atmosphere is bustling yet refined, with onlookers gathering nearby to watch the unusual scene. The next morning, Bella's Bistro opened its doors as usual. The staff arrived early, yawning and sipping their coffee while setting up for the day. They didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. After all, it was just another Tuesday in a quiet little town where nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. But within minutes of unlocking the front door, something strange began unfolding outside. The first sign came when a shiny red Ferrari pulled up to the curb, heads turned as a man in an expensive suit stepped out, adjusting his sunglasses before striding confidently toward the entrance. He didn't look like the typical customer who frequented Bella's Bistro. Moments later, a sleek black Lamborghini screeched to a halt behind him, followed by a pristine white Rolls-Royce. Soon the street was lined with luxury cars, Porsches, Bentleys, even a Maserati, all gleaming under the morning sun. Inside the restaurant, the staff froze in disbelief. Who were these people? And why were they here? One by one, wealthy men and women dressed in designer outfits walked through the doors, their presence instantly transforming the cozy bistro into a scene straight out of a movie. Some carried briefcases, others held smartphones pressed to their ears, discussing business deals worth millions. Their polished shoes clicked against the tiled floor as they scanned the room, looking for a place to sit. The manager, still shaken from the previous night's encounter with Laura, watched the chaos unfold with growing unease. What was going on? Why had this sudden wave of high-profile individuals descended upon his humble establishment? His mind raced with questions, but no answers came. All he could do was try to keep up with the flood of orders pouring in from every direction. "Can we get 2 lattes and a fruit platter over here?" called a woman in a tailored blazer, her diamond earrings catching the light. "And I'll take the salmon with extra lemon," added a man in a navy blue suit, tapping his fingers impatiently on the table. The waitstaff scrambled to accommodate. The influx of customers, their usual calm demeanor replaced by frantic energy. Plates clattered, glasses clinked, and steam rose from the kitchen as chefs worked tirelessly to prepare dish after dish. Outside, curious onlookers gathered on the sidewalk, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the extravagant spectacle. Phones were pulled out to snap photos, and whispers spread like wildfire throughout the neighborhood. Word quickly reached the local news station, which sent a reporter to investigate the bizarre phenomenon. Cameras rolled as patrons exited the restaurant, some pausing briefly to share glowing reviews about the food or the ambiance. "It's delightful," gushed a woman holding a designer handbag. "I've never experienced such charm." But not everyone was convinced. Suspicion lingered in the air, especially among those who knew the story of what had happened the night before. Rumors began circulating about the mysterious woman who had been thrown out of the bistro. Some claimed they saw her muttering cryptic words under her breath as she left. Others whispered that she might have connections to powerful figures, or perhaps even secret organizations. One patron, a tall man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes, sat quietly at a corner table, observing everything around him. His name was Ryan Carter, and though he appeared relaxed, there was an undeniable intensity to his gaze. He ordered several dishes, sampling each one carefully before setting down his fork. When the manager approached hesitantly to check on him, Ryan leaned back in his chair, studying the man with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "This is quite the turnaround," Ryan remarked casually, swirling the remnants of his coffee in the cup. "Last night I heard things weren't so pleasant here." The manager swallowed hard, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Yes, sir. There was an incident, but we're doing our best to make sure everyone has a good experience today." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "An incident, you say? Care to elaborate?" Reluctantly, the manager recounted the events of the previous evening, the disgruntled customer, the argument, and how she had stormed out in anger. As he spoke, Ryan listened intently, his expression unreadable. When the story ended, he nodded, slowly, as if processing the information. "Well," he said finally, his voice low and measured, "you should be careful about how you treat your guests, especially ones like her." The manager blinked, unsure what he meant. "Like her? Sir, I don't understand." Ryan cut him off with a dismissive wave of his hand. "Let's just say she's not someone you want to cross. If I were you, I'd find a way to make amends quickly." With that, Ryan stood up, leaving a generous tip on the table before walking out. The manager stared after him, his heart pounding. Something about Ryan's warning sent chills down his spine. Was this entire situation somehow connected to the woman from last night? And if so, what did it mean for the future of Bella's Bistro? As the day wore on, the stream of luxury cars showed no signs of slowing down. By late afternoon, the parking lot resembled a showroom for high-end automobiles. Inside, the staff worked non-stop, their exhaustion masked by forced smiles and polite greetings. Despite the overwhelming stress, they couldn't deny the financial boost this sudden surge of elite clientele brought. Tips flowed freely, and orders piled up, ensuring record profits for the day. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered. The owner of the bistro, a kind-hearted woman named Evelyn, called an emergency meeting with her team once the lunch rush subsided. Sitting around a small table in the back office, they discussed the inexplicable events of the past 24 hours. "We need to figure out what's going on," Evelyn said, rubbing her temples. "This isn't normal. People don't just show up like this unless there's a reason." One of the waiters chimed in nervously. "Do you think it has something to do with that woman? Laura, I think her name was?" Evelyn frowned. "It's possible. But why would throwing her out cause all this? She didn't strike me as someone with influence." Another staff member shrugged. "Maybe she knows important people, or maybe she posted about it online and started a trend?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, it's more than that. These customers aren't random tourists or social media followers. They're different, like they're part of something bigger." Her words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. No one had any concrete answers, but the feeling of being caught in the middle of something far beyond their control weighed heavily on everyone present. By evening, the crowd thinned out, leaving the staff exhausted but intrigued. As they cleaned up and prepared to close for the night, the owner made a decision. First thing tomorrow, she would hire private investigators to dig deeper into Laura Bennett's background. Whatever was happening, they needed to understand it, and fast. Unbeknownst to them, Laura was already aware of the impact she had caused. From a distance, she watched the commotion unfold, her lips curling into a faint smile. This was only the beginning. A stylish businessman in his late 30s sits at a table inside a cozy restaurant. He wears an impeccably tailored navy blue suit and has short, neatly styled hair. His piercing blue eyes exude confidence as he observes the busy scene around him. On the table are several plates of gourmet food, a cup of coffee, and a leather briefcase. The background shows waitstaff rushing to serve wealthy patrons dressed in elegant attire. The atmosphere is chaotic yet upscale, with luxury cars visible through the large glass windows. Ryan Carter returned to Bella's Bistro the following morning, this time without his entourage. He walked in alone, his polished shoes clicking softly against the tiled floor. The staff recognized him immediately. His commanding presence was hard to forget. As he entered, conversations paused briefly before resuming in hushed tones. Everyone wondered what brought him back so soon. He chose a seat near the center of the dining area, close enough to observe both the kitchen and the entrance. A waiter approached hesitantly, clutching a notepad. "Good morning, sir," the young man said, forcing a polite smile. "Can I get you started with something to drink?" Ryan glanced up, his piercing blue eyes locking onto the waiter's. "Coffee, black, and bring me the menu." The waiter nodded quickly and scurried away, relieved to escape Ryan's intense gaze. Moments later, he returned with a steaming cup of coffee and placed it on the table. Ryan took a sip, savoring the rich flavor, then opened the menu. He studied it carefully, taking his time before ordering dish after dish with precise instructions. Each request seemed designed to test the staff's efficiency and attention to detail. As the orders piled up, the kitchen buzzed with frantic activity. Chefs chopped, stirred, and plated at lightning speed, while servers darted between tables, their arms laden with trays. Despite the chaos, Ryan remained calm, watching everything unfold with detached interest. He ate slowly, savoring each bite, his sharp eyes scanning the room like a hawk observing its prey. When he finished his meal, he signaled for the manager to come over. The man approached nervously, wiping his sweaty palms on his apron. "Is everything to your satisfaction, Mr. Carter?" he asked, trying to sound confident but failing miserably. Ryan leaned back in his chair, folding his hands in front of him. "You know," he began, his voice smooth and deliberate, "this place has changed quite a bit since last night." The manager swallowed hard. "We're doing our best to accommodate everyone, sir. It's been unexpected, to say the least." "Unexpected?" "Indeed," Ryan agreed, his lips curling into a faint smirk. "But tell me, do you remember the woman who visited last night, Laura Bennett?" The manager hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "Yes, I remember her." Ryan's expression darkened slightly. "Good, because if I find out she, or anyone else like her, is mistreated again, you'll regret it. Trust me." The threat hung in the air, heavy and unspoken. The manager nodded, rapidly beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Of course, sir. We'll make sure that doesn't happen." Satisfied, Ryan stood up and straightened his suit jacket. He left a generous tip on the table before walking toward the exit. As he passed through the doors, the staff breathed a collective sigh of relief. But the tension lingered, a constant reminder of the power dynamics at play. Meanwhile, Evelyn, the owner of Bella's Bistro, sat in her office, poring over documents provided by the private investigators she had hired. The reports painted a startling picture of Laura Bennett. According to their findings, Laura wasn't just an ordinary customer. She belonged to an exclusive network of influential individuals known as the Syndicate. This organization operated discreetly, wielding immense power across industries ranging from finance to entertainment. Members of the Syndicate often conducted subtle tests to evaluate the integrity and hospitality of businesses they encountered. These tests could involve anything from making routine purchases to requesting services under specific conditions. If a business failed to meet their standards, the Syndicate responded swiftly and ruthlessly. Evelyn's hands trembled as she read the details. When Laura was thrown out of the bistro, it triggered an automatic response within the Syndicate. Their members mobilized en masse, flooding the restaurant with elite clientele to overwhelm it financially and emotionally. This wasn't just about revenge, it was a lesson in humility and respect. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Evelyn called another meeting with her team. Sitting around the small table in the back office, she shared the investigators' findings. The staff listened in stunned silence, their faces pale with shock. "So what do we do now?" one of the waiters asked, breaking the silence. "We fix this," Evelyn replied firmly. "We need to show them and Laura that we've learned our lesson. That means treating every single guest with dignity and respect, no matter who they are or what they look like. But how do we even reach her? Another staff member questioned. She hasn't come back since that night. Evelyn sighed deeply. That's the tricky part. People like Laura don't just walk into your life and give you a second chance. We'll have to earn it. Over the next few days, the staff worked tirelessly to improve their service. They greeted customers warmly, addressed complaints promptly, and went above and beyond to ensure satisfaction. Every interaction was handled with care, every detail meticulously attended to. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere in the bistro shifted. Patrons noticed the change and responded positively, leaving glowing reviews online and recommending the restaurant to friends. Despite these efforts, Laura remained elusive. Her absence weighed heavily on Evelyn's mind, a constant reminder of the mistake they couldn't undo. Then, one evening, weeks after the initial incident, she reappeared. Laura walked into Bella's bistro quietly, wearing a simple dress and carrying herself with grace. The moment she entered, the bustling energy in the room shifted. Conversations hushed, and all eyes turned to her. The manager rushed over, trembling as he apologized profusely. "Miss Bennett, please forgive us for what happened," he said, his voice shaking. We didn't mean." Laura held up a hand, silencing him mid-sentence. "It's all right," she said gently. "Mistakes happen. What matters is learning from them." Her words brought a wave of relief to the staff, who had been dreading this moment for weeks. Laura then revealed that the syndicate would cease their campaign against the bistro, but only if the staff committed to maintaining the high standards they had recently adopted. Evelyn vowed to uphold these principles, promising to treat every guest with the respect they deserved. As Laura prepared to leave, Evelyn approached her hesitantly. "Thank you for giving us another chance," she said sincerely. "We won't let you down." Laura smiled softly. "See that you don't?" With that, she turned and walked out of the restaurant, disappearing into the night. In the weeks that followed, Bella's Bistro flourished. It became renowned not just for its food, but for its exceptional service. Though Laura never returned, whispers of her name lingered among the staff, a reminder of the day a single act of kindness or lack thereof changed their lives forever. A modest restaurant interior bathed in warm golden lighting. In the foreground, a young woman with long brown hair and a calm expression sits at a table near the window. She wears a simple dress and carries an air of quiet confidence. Around her, staff members move busily, serving wealthy patrons dressed in elegant attire. Outside the large glass windows, luxury cars are parked along the street, their polished surfaces gleaming under soft evening light. The atmosphere is bustling yet refined, with a mix of admiration and tension in the air. The days that followed Laura's reappearance at Bella's Bistro were filled with a mix of relief and cautious optimism. The staff worked harder than ever, determined to prove that they had truly changed. Every interaction was handled with care, every detail meticulously attended to. Evelyn, the owner, made it her mission to ensure that no guest, regardless of who they were, felt ignored or disrespected. It wasn't just about avoiding another incident. It was about creating a culture of kindness and professionalism that would last long after this strange chapter ended. Word spread quickly among the wealthy patrons who had been frequenting the bistro. They noticed the shift, not just in the quality of service, but in the overall energy of the place. Conversations flowed more naturally, laughter echoed through the dining area, and even the simplest meals felt like a celebration. Some of these high-profile individuals began recommending Bella's Bistro to their friends and colleagues, further cementing its reputation as a must-visit destination. Yet, despite the newfound success, questions lingered in the minds of the staff. Who exactly was Laura Bennett? How had she managed to command such loyalty and respect from some of the most powerful people in the world? And what role did the syndicate really play in all of this? Evelyn decided it was time to dig deeper. She reached out to the private investigators again, asking them to gather more information about the syndicate. What she learned left her both awestruck and uneasy. According to the reports, the syndicate wasn't just a loose network of influential individuals. It was an organized, secretive society, with roots stretching back decades. Its members came from all walks of life: business tycoons, politicians, artists, scientists, and even ordinary-looking people whose true influence was hidden beneath layers of anonymity. What united them was a shared commitment to certain values: respect, civility, and discretion, and a willingness to enforce those values in unconventional ways. When one of their members experienced mistreatment, the syndicate responded collectively. Their actions weren't always direct. Sometimes they used subtle tactics to send a message. Other times, like in the case of Bella's Bistro, they orchestrated grand gestures designed to overwhelm and teach lessons. But regardless of the method, their goal remained the same: to remind businesses and individuals alike of the importance of treating others with dignity. The investigators also uncovered something else: a glimpse into Laura's background. Though much of her life remained shrouded in secrecy, they found evidence suggesting she held a significant position within the syndicate. She wasn't merely a member. She was someone others looked up to, someone whose opinions carried weight. Her decision to visit Bella's Bistro hadn't been random. It was part of a larger strategy to test establishments across the country. Armed with this knowledge, Evelyn called another meeting with her team. Sitting around the small table in the back office, she shared the new findings. The staff listened intently, their expressions ranging from disbelief to admiration. "So she's not just a regular person," one of the waiters said, breaking the silence. "She's important." "More than important," Evelyn corrected him. "She's powerful, and we offended her without even realizing it." "But why didn't she say anything?" another staff member asked. "Why go through all this trouble instead of just telling us?" Evelyn sighed deeply. "Because that's how the syndicate works. They don't announce themselves or demand special treatment. They observe, they test, and if you fail, they act. It's their way of ensuring that businesses stay accountable." The room fell silent as everyone processed this revelation. For weeks, they had wondered why luxury cars kept arriving and why wealthy patrons continued to flood the restaurant. Now, they understood. It wasn't just about punishing them. It was about teaching them a lesson they wouldn't forget. Determined to make amends, Evelyn devised a plan. She wanted to reach out to Laura personally, to express gratitude for the opportunity to improve and to assure her that Bella's Bistro was committed to maintaining the highest standards. But finding a way to contact her proved challenging. Laura didn't have social media profiles and her name wasn't listed in any public directories. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Frustrated but unwilling to give up, Evelyn turned to Ryan Carter. He had visited the bistro multiple times since his initial encounter with the manager, always observing silently and offering cryptic advice when prompted. Evelyn approached him during one of his visits, hoping he might provide some insight. "Mr. Carter," she began hesitantly. "I need your help." Ryan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "With what?" "It's about Laura Bennett," Evelyn explained. "We want to thank her for giving us another chance, but we don't know how to reach her." Ryan studied her for a moment, his piercing blue eyes searching hers. Then he leaned back in his chair and let out a low chuckle. "You're brave to ask me that." "Is it possible?" Evelyn pressed. "Can you help us?" He considered her request for a moment before nodding slowly. "I'll see what I can do, but don't expect miracles. People like Laura don't respond well to groveling." Evelyn nodded eagerly. "We're not looking to grovel. We just want to show her that we've changed." Satisfied with her response, Ryan stood up and adjusted his suit jacket. "I'll pass along your message, that's all I can promise." True to his word, Ryan reached out to Laura on behalf of Bella's Bistro. Whether he spoke to her directly or conveyed the message through intermediaries, no one knew. But several days later, Laura returned to the restaurant once more. This time, she arrived during the lunch rush, slipping quietly through the door without drawing attention. The staff recognized her immediately and sprang into action, ensuring her experience was flawless. She ordered a light meal and observed the bustling activity around her, her expression unreadable. When she finished eating, Evelyn approached her cautiously. "Miss Bennet," she said softly, "thank you for coming back. We owe you so much." Laura smiled faintly. "You don't owe me anything. You've done the hard work yourselves." "But we couldn't have done it without you," Evelyn insisted. "You showed us what we were missing. We won't forget that." Laura nodded thoughtfully. "Good. Because the syndicate will be watching. If you slip up again, there won't be a second chance." Her words sent a chill through Evelyn, but she understood the gravity of the situation. "We won't let you down," she promised. "Not again." With that, Laura stood up and walked toward the exit. Before leaving, she paused briefly and glanced back at the staff. Her gaze swept over them, lingering for a moment before she disappeared through the door. In the weeks that followed, Bella's Bistro continued to thrive. The influx of luxury cars eventually slowed, but the lessons learned remained ingrained in the hearts and minds of the staff. They treated every guest with the same level of care and respect, knowing that anyone could be a member of the syndicate, or someone equally important. Though Laura never returned, her presence lingered like a ghost. Whispers of her name reminded the staff of the day a single act of neglect had transformed their lives forever. And while they hoped never to cross paths with the syndicate again, they were grateful for the opportunity to grow and become better versions of themselves. For Evelyn and her team, it was a turning point, a reminder that even the smallest interactions could have profound consequences. And in the end, that was the greatest lesson of all. A cozy restaurant interior with warm lighting and a welcoming atmosphere. A young woman with long brown hair and a calm demeanor sits at a corner table, smiling softly as she looks around the room. The staff is busy serving guests, their movements smooth and confident. Outside the large glass windows, a few luxury cars are parked along the street, hinting at the recent transformation of the bistro. The scene conveys a sense of harmony and renewal, with a quiet undercurrent of gratitude and respect. Months passed, and Bella's Bistro settled into a new rhythm. The chaos of the past weeks had subsided, replaced by a steady flow of customers who appreciated not only the food but also the exceptional service. Evelyn, the owner, took pride in how far her team had come. They had turned a near disaster into an opportunity for growth, proving that even small mistakes could lead to big changes when handled with humility and determination. The lessons they learned from Laura Bennet and the syndicate stayed with them every day. Each guest who walked through the door was treated like royalty, not because they might be part of some secret organization, but because everyone deserved kindness and respect. It became the foundation of the bistro's philosophy, woven into every interaction and decision. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast a golden glow over the dining area, Evelyn sat alone at a table near the window. She sipped a cup of tea, reflecting on everything that had happened. From the moment Laura stormed out of the restaurant to the sudden arrival of luxury cars and high-profile patrons, it felt like a whirlwind. But now, looking around the room, Evelyn saw only calm and contentment. Families laughed together, couples held hands across tables, and friends shared stories over plates of steaming pasta. The staff moved gracefully between tables, their smiles genuine and their energy positive. Even the kitchen seemed quieter, less frantic than before. It was as if the entire place had found its balance. Evelyn thought about Laura often, though she hadn't seen her since that fateful lunch months ago. Her presence lingered in subtle ways. Sometimes Evelyn would catch herself wondering what Laura was doing or whether she ever thought about Bella's Bistro. Did she feel proud of the changes they had made? Or did she simply move on to test another business somewhere else? These questions remained unanswered, but Evelyn didn't dwell on them too much. What mattered most was that they had taken responsibility for their actions and worked hard to make things right. That effort spoke volumes about the kind of people they were, and the kind of establishment they wanted to run. As the days turned into weeks, word of Bella's Bistro spread beyond the town. Food critics began visiting, curious about the little, restaurant that had captured the attention of wealthy elites. Their reviews were glowing, praising not just the menu but the warmth and professionalism of the staff. "This isn't just a meal," one critic wrote. "It's an experience." Tourists started adding Bella's Bistro to their itineraries, eager to see what all the fuss was about. Locals returned more frequently, bringing friends and family to share in the magic. Business boomed, yet Evelyn made sure nothing changed, in terms of quality or service. She knew better than anyone how fragile success could be, and how quickly it could slip away. One afternoon, as Evelyn reviewed the latest batch of online reviews, she noticed something unusual. A comment stood out among the others, written by someone named LB. The message was short but meaningful. "Proud of the progress you've made. Keep going." Evelyn stared at the screen, her heart skipping a beat. Could it be her? Was this Laura's way of letting them know she approved? She read the comment over and over, searching for clues. There was no way to confirm who had posted it, but deep down, Evelyn believed it was her. She printed out the review and pinned it to the bulletin board in the staff break room. When the team gathered for their weekly meeting, she pointed it out to them. "Look at this," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Someone noticed. Someone cares." The staff erupted into cheers, their faces lighting up with pride. For weeks they had wondered if their efforts truly mattered, if anyone outside their immediate circle recognized the changes they had made. This single comment proved that their hard work hadn't gone unnoticed. Inspired by the anonymous praise, the team doubled down on their commitment to excellence. They introduced new dishes to the menu, sourced ingredients from local farmers, and hosted special events to bring the community together. Every initiative was met with enthusiasm, further solidifying Bella's Bistro as a cornerstone of the town. But perhaps the most significant change came from within. The staff grew closer, bonded by the challenges they had overcome and the victories they had achieved. They celebrated each other's successes, supported one another during tough times, and worked as a cohesive unit. Evelyn couldn't have asked for a better team or a better outcome. As the seasons changed, so did the world around them. Winter gave way to spring, and flowers bloomed outside the restaurant windows. Inside, laughter echoed through the dining area, mingling with the aroma of freshly baked bread and simmering sauces. Life at Bella's Bistro felt full and vibrant, a testament to the power of resilience and redemption. Evelyn often thought about writing a letter to Laura, expressing her gratitude once and for all. She drafted several versions in her mind, imagining how it might sound. "Thank you for teaching us a lesson we desperately needed to learn," she would write. "We're better because of you." But in the end, she decided against it. Some things didn't need to be said aloud or put into words. Laura already knew the impact she had made, and if she ever returned to Bella's Bistro, Evelyn hoped she would see the difference firsthand. For now, the restaurant thrived, its reputation stronger than ever. The story of the woman thrown out and the luxury cars that followed became legend, whispered among patrons and staff alike. It served as a reminder of how quickly fortunes could change and how important it was to treat everyone with dignity and grace. On quiet nights, Evelyn would sit by the window and watch the stars twinkle in the sky. She thought about Laura often, wondering where she was and what she was doing. Somewhere out there, she imagined Laura walking into another restaurant, testing another business, teaching another lesson. Maybe she smiled faintly as she remembered Bella's Bistro and the transformation it had undergone. Whatever the truth, Evelyn felt grateful. Grateful for the challenge, the growth, and the chance to turn a mistake into something beautiful. The end. That was the greatest gift of all, a second chance to do better, to be better. And so, life at Bella's Bistro continued, filled with warmth, laughter, and the promise of brighter days ahead.